What's up everyone, Brandon Tyrell here with IGN, and today we're going to look at a few of the new features coming to Far Cry 5. Now the Far Cry series is known for a couple things it does really well. A big open world with lots of character, complicated villains that anchor an engaging and sometimes morally complex story, and lots of different ways to explore the world and take on its challenges. But one of the biggest questions going into the March 27th release of Far Cry 5 is just what exactly it does differently from Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4. And that's a fair question. While a lot of Far Cry 5 will be familiar to fans of the series, I don't personally consider that a bad thing. After all, if the playbook works, and these games are fun and commercially successful, so it seems like the playbook is working, is there a need to rewrite it completely? Now we'll have to wait until the game's release to answer all of our questions, but I wanted to take the opportunity to highlight some of the new things, both big and small, that I played and you can expect to find in Hope County, Montana. So let's get to it. Now first and foremost, the biggest change in Far Cry 5 is its non-linearity. Hope County is comprised of 3 main regions, each ruled by a member of the Seed family, John, Jacob, and Faith. Now from your first step into the game, you can head in any direction you want and tangle with any member of the family you feel like. And since many of the main story missions are triggered when you build up enough resistance in a specific region, you can pick and choose where to advance the story by doing a number of activities that both liberate the people or dismantle the cult activity in a specific region. And as you build resistance, regions become more difficult. For example, in my playthrough, by the second story beat in John Seed's region, I'd actually angered him enough that he sent out his squadron of cult fighter pilots called the Chosen. So at this point, you can press on and deal with the constant threat of death from above, or go do other things in other regions and come back when you're better prepared. Bottom line, you're not forced to do anything in any order, and it's a big improvement over the straight line of story missions in past games and having to capture towers to open an area. And speaking of towers, they're a thing of the past. In Far Cry 5, rather than heading toward an area, capturing a tower to open up side content around it, and then repeating this process over and over, you just don't have to do that anymore. The new intel system in Far Cry 5 takes the place of this mechanic, where simply exploring and wandering the world reveals intel points that highlight points of interest or activities for you to do. For example, when talking to a resident of Hope County, they might tell you about a secret stash for you to go find. Or if you spot a sign with a mountain lion on it, it could reveal locations of them on your map. Basically, you'll be getting information about the world as you play it organically, rather than liberating a tower and getting one big info dump at a time. The more that I played Far Cry 5, I found this to be a much more engaging way to interact with the world, because I kept getting pleasantly distracted every 10 minutes when I hear about something cool I wanted to go check out. For me, it's definitely a positive change. But let's talk about just a few of the new toys you'll be using to liberate Montana from Project Eden's Gate. Now right off the bat, pun intended of course, the new melee weapons add a pretty gratifying way to bash your way through the cult. Again, pun intended. Now I personally used a baseball bat and a pipe, but my favorite was the shovel. Let's just say hitting cultist fanatics in the face with a shovel is way more satisfying than it probably should be. Of all the guns I used, the Mac 11 or Uzi was probably my favorite, just for style points. It's an awesome little bullet hose with an irresistible panache. Oh, and there's a new smoke grenade, which is always handy, and the always reliable stick of dynamite, which is pretty self-explanatory. Now in the vein of vehicles, we'll be diving into them a little more in depth later this month, but Far Cry 5 brings with it a number of cool new toys. From classic muscle cars to big rig trucks, both standard and armed with machine guns. And of course, while Far Cry 4 introduced a dinky gyrocopter, Far Cry 5 adds honest-to-goodness planes and helicopters that are all pilotable. And it is really, really satisfying just to see how big and sprawling Montana is from the air. Oh, and they blow stuff up pretty good too. But hey, maybe you just want to take it easy and do some fishing. Well, you can do that too in Far Cry 5. And I found it's actually really peaceful to take a breather from the fiery destruction all around you and just hook some fish. Like Ron Swanson says, fishing is relaxing. It's like yoga, but you still get to kill something. And though I'm not supposed to talk about it just yet, you will be able to customize your character in Far Cry 5. Though I can't get into details, you might be asking, but why would you care about customizing your character in a first-person game? Well, that brings me to my next point. Everything in Far Cry 5 is co-op friendly. Every mission, every activity, everything you'll be able to do with a buddy. If you want to. You don't have to, but you can, which is an incredibly cool way to experience such a big open-world playground. So, is Far Cry 5 going to completely break the mold of what a Far Cry game is? Probably not. Which is fine to me, because it's got a solid blueprint for an enjoyable sandbox adventure. But these are just some of the new things I noticed in the 15 hours I got to spend with it that are going to mix things up. Hey, thanks for watching. If you're interested in Far Cry 5 and you want to see more of our deep dive into it as our IGN First Game of the Month, you might want to check out our 4K look at taking on an outpost with 3 different playstyles, or our in-depth look at John Seed, the charismatic and sadistic youngest member of the Seed family. Thanks again, and see you next time.